Welcome to Instant Clarity Podcast. My name is Tjaša Dorelay. I'm a channeling medium, and in this episode, you will find out my story, how I became a channeling medium. If you are interested in this story, then listen to this episode and enjoy. People often ask me, what is the story behind me becoming a channeling medium? And this is how it happened. When I was 12 years old, my mom got really ill, and this opened my family to search for different solutions for her healing. At that time, I didn't know anything about spiritual journeys. I didn't know anything about meditation or any other practice of healing, and it was all new to me. But because we wanted to find a way for my mom to heal, we started practicing so many different things. I learned about chakras, I worked with different shamans, I went on different healing experiences. So, as a little girl, I already started practicing so many different spiritual tools and practices and actually got to know them better. I felt so much better when I was doing that because when I started meditating or practicing different spiritual modalities, I felt more calm during this very actually painful part of my life because I was looking at my mom suffering and it was very difficult for me to see that. And because I had these spiritual modalities that I can turn to, I felt so much better. I felt at peace. I actually came home towards myself, towards my soul. And that was the time that I realized that this physical body is not the only thing there is. There is so much more. There is this whole space out there. There is this possibility of manifesting, and there are so many energies surrounding us. There is so many different parts of universe that we haven't experienced before because we are here on this physical plane of reality, and many times in our minds just we think that this is all there is. But through that experience, I found out there is so much more. And I started asking my guides, my angels, to speak to me because I really wanted to hear them. I really wanted to be connected with them. And obviously, this was a one-way communication at that time. I was asking them questions. I was praying to them, but I never heard anything back because obviously I was not that open yet. And at the same time, what started happening is that I started having allergies. My body started telling me, well, you should not eat this, you should not eat that. It was just my body saying what it wants to eat. So it was this way of me opening myself for the divine part of my being. And at the same time, my body telling me how I should eat more healthier, how I should clean my body, how I should actually take care of myself with more love and with more kindness. And I think both ways were actually connected because they started opening me for my connection to my source. So I remember I visited so many different workshops and events, and I practiced meditation. I was taking care of my body. I was eating healthy, and I was praying and asking my guides to speak with me. And at that time, I still didn't hear anything. But I think that I was starting to clean myself. I was making the space for this connection to happen. And then at one point, I asked my spiritual teacher, because I was so devoted to all these spiritual practices, I said to him, I said, look, I really feel good doing that. I want to do something in my life around that thing. I want to practice this daily. I want to teach this. And he said, well, you know what? You will not do that. You will just bring clarity. And at that time, I really didn't know what this meant because what is clarity? I was 19 years old when my channel opened. And looking back, I think that all the experiences that I had were kind of guiding me to that moment. The illness of my mom opened me to realize there is more than just this physical body and this physical reality around us. My body telling me to quit certain foods and drinks also was a way of preparing myself for the opening of my channel. And also my spiritual teacher who said, well, you will share clarity with the world, Tjaša. So this is why you are here. Everything was connecting. So at that time, I was 19 years old and I was at these workshops and we were practicing to change the frequency of the brain to theta waves. And when we did that, I started receiving messages. And I was at first hesitant to share these messages because, what if they are not true? But the teacher there, she invited me to share these messages with the person in front of me. And I was so afraid, what if I do something wrong? What if I say something that is not true? But then, you go with the flow, you just say what there is. And I shared with that person the messages that I received, and she started crying. And I was like, oh my God, I did something wrong. I said something wrong. And she said, no, everything is right. What you said is complete truth. So I came back to my home. I still lived with my parents at that time. And my father asked me, well, what did you do the whole weekend? And I said, well, we were going to theta waves of our brains and just receiving messages from our angels. And he said, well, do that for me right now. And I said, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to repeat it because the message just happened to be there. And he said, well, try. So I sat down in our living room, closed my eyes, and I said, well, angels, if you're there, just give me a message. And I immediately received this message and I shared the message with my father. And it was a message about him collaborating with a certain person, and they described this person to the detail. And when I opened my eyes, I asked him, well, do you know this person? And he said, no, I don't. But what happened the next week is that he went on this meeting and there was this person, exactly the person the angels described. So he really then eventually had business with that person. So this started happening, that the messages I started receiving shortly became true. And in this way, I saw, well, this is something truthful. This is not my mind making stories. It's actually coming from the source, from the angels. And I felt really good when I was connecting with them. And I started thinking, well, how can I have this better connection? And every day I went to this channel. I didn't even know at that time this is channeling. So I went to this connection. I put my brain in theta waves and I asked the guides to give me clarity, to give me answers. And they started giving me answers, not just yes and no answers, but like very specific, clear guidance. And when I followed on this guidance and I really did what they tell me, everything started making so much sense. I started feeling better. I started feeling more fulfilled. I was 19 years old at that time. So this was still, the questions I asked them were like, does this boy like me or not? And how can I make him love me? It was silly if I look back now, but yeah, it was my start of how I started kind of learning about my channeling. What I did then is that I devoted myself to this practice and I practiced every day and I started asking them, how can I be even more clear in sharing these messages? And they guided me. So through that process, I found my own method of coming to the source. So as you've heard me before, we have 7 bodies. We have this physical body, the emotional body, mental body, energy body, and there are 3 more bodies that are higher, which are astral body, in which we are connected through our to our soul. There are soul contracts in that part of our body, and above it is celestial body. This is the place where our angels, our guides, the universal consciousness lives. So while channeling, I'm actually connecting through all these lower bodies to upper bodies to the celestial body where all information is held. And I realized that it's not just about finding the answers about myself, my soul, which is in astral part of the existence, but when I'm channeling, I can actually go even one step further to the celestial realm where is all information about everything that exists. So when I started channeling and I started finding the way to come to the celestial realm, I found out that I have the connection with the source. So I can ask any question regarding anything. Maybe I asked about relationships or money or a certain situation, or like the question about the universe, and all the questions were answered. I got very clear answers to any of my questions. And this inspired me so much. The fire inside of me started burning so much because I'm a researcher in my soul. I like to research things. I like to find out. So it was like, I don't need to read books because now I have this connection to the source and I can just ask them. And the answers I receive are even broader than the answers I can receive in the books. So this kind of inspired me to really start researching my channel, to start practicing and creating my method for channeling. And because, of course, when I was doing that, my parents, my family, my friends wanted to know what their angel has to say. So I started channeling, for people around me. And very soon, people from Slovenia found out there is this girl channeling her living room, and people from all over started coming to my home, to my living room. I was just 19 years old, so I was not doing this for business. It was just like the pure pleasure of I want to channel, and people came to my living room. They got answers. They went back home. They did what angels told them to do. Their life transformed, and in this way, I realized, well, if I'm doing that, it's not just benefiting me because I feel better, because I feel so good, so amazing when I'm in the channel, but also lives of other people are improving. And when I saw that, I immediately knew that this is why I'm here. And I understood that all suffering that I went through, that all the experiences that my soul has traveled through were just preparing me for this moment. So yeah, it was immediate recognition of my soul's purpose. And at that time, I recognized, well, now I know why my spiritual teacher told me that I'm here to bring clarity, because this is exactly what I'm doing through my channel. I'm bringing clarity, I'm bringing answers to people, and helping them to transform their lives. One of the messages that I received when I first started channeling was everything that is inside of you is outside of you, and it's becoming even bigger and bigger. So your vibration is creating your situation outside. And at that time, I didn't understand what this meant. But later, years later, when I was channeling regularly, I finally understood. I found out that we are just vibration, but because we are vibrating so high or so densely, we are physical form. So when we take care of ourselves, when we take care of our energy, and we take care of our vibration, we are actually emitting different frequencies, and we are creating different lives. So I found out that not just having clarity, but also having a regular spiritual practice, it's so important for my life to be really good. So not just channeling information and messages, but also channeling meditations. This became very important part of my life. So I started channeling information and at the same time creating events, channeled meditations in which I channel different energies to the world. So at that time, I was 19 still. I realized this is what I want to do with my life. This is what my soul purpose is. So I devoted myself to this journey. And since then, this is, I think, 13 years now, I'm channeling. I'm doing this every day. I'm here. I serve. My soul serves the world with the channeled messages that come through my channel. And my intention really is to bring this clarity, because I think that many times we are lost in the mind, in the fear, in the suffering. And my spiritual teacher told me, Tjaša, life is very simple. And actually it is. When we connect ourselves with the source, when we listen to these clear messages from our guides, we found out that life is actually really simple. It's just about living in clarity, in a connection with who we truly are, and allowing ourselves to really go through all experiences that life has to offer. So yeah, now I'm here. My intention for the world is that we all expand our consciousness and really become aware of who we truly are. And this is why I'm creating also this podcast, because I want to bring this clarity that is coming through my channel to you so your life improves. And I invite you to just, even if you doubt a little bit, just listen to the message and allow the message to touch you and act upon the messages that you really feel called to. And at the same time, surrender yourself to your spiritual practice. For me, this is channeled meditation. Why? Because channel meditation brings energy directly from the source, directly from the celestial realm to your physical body. So it's activating, it's really, really powerful. So this is also why here in this podcast, you will find different channeled meditations. I know this is not a practice for every podcast, but still I wanted to incorporate this part of myself here because I think it's so, so important. Yeah, this is my journey. If you have any other questions, just come follow me on Instagram at Tjaša Dorelay and we can continue this conversation. I wish you enjoyed today's episode. If you had, please leave a review or send this episode to your friend. And let's stay connected on Instagram at Tjaša Dorelay. Remember, your vibration creates your situation.